Howdy and welcome back to the Wildlife Garden Channel. My name is Chad and this is Texas Zone 9B. Now this is going to be my first official episode about rewilding the yard, and I'll get more into that in a moment. But for now, I mostly just want to explain why I do 2/3 of my gardening during the winter, specifically January and February. So right behind me is a white mulberry tree. It's not the native species to Texas. It does displace the natives. However, when I got this property, that's the tree that was already here. So I might as well work with what I've got, trim it back heavily, and I'll explain a little bit more about what I'm doing and why.
I just need a saw and some loppers. Make sure to clean them first. This is all new growth. This is much lighter wood. And it can grow up too. I mean, here's a new branch. That's about 1/4 in diameter, which is an insane amount of growth, even for Houston. But anyways, if I want this guy to produce a lot of fruit, I want to take off all of the little baby branches and I want to pollard this tree. So that means taking out all of these major branches and basically just leaving a few trunks. You may think that it's cutting it back too much, the tree can't handle it, but it's gonna be awesome. I'll just show you what I mean.
So as I mentioned, this is a mulberry tree, or Prunus albus. This tree flowers very early in the spring, one of your first trees to flower, and it's gonna bear fruit in mid to late spring, even into early summer. Now, the reason that I am pruning it back so heavily is, first of all, because it's the dormant season and it is the perfect time to prune back all your trees, whether they fruit or not. And the second reason that I'm trimming back the trees so severely is because the flowers and fruit are only going to occur on the new growth. So if the vast majority of the new growth is 20 feet up in the air, I can't harvest it.
Cutting back my fruit tree. Yeah. Safety first. I will. Neighbor's always concerned. See, right about here, where this main trunk stops and it splits into, I don't know, about 8 smaller trunks. I want to take it all back. What? No way. Look at that. I actually just broke this. Straight up. What? R.I.P. loppers. Well. Wow, that's weird. I've never seen that before. I've broken a lot of handles in my day, but that's a first. Yeah, it's in there. Oh, there it goes. Looks like saw is the only way to finish this. So, as you can see, there's about 3 main trunks and about 4 to 5 smaller ones. I want to get rid of at least 3 of the small trunks, because I want anywhere from 2 to 5 for a mulberry tree is fine. Trunks that you prune back to every winter, every year. I'm gonna call it today, since I'm quite beat up. It's a lot of work. It's a big
tree, and I didn't prune it back as far as I should have last year. Last winter I just did a prune. I didn't pollard. And pollard, you're taking off 2 to 3 times as much material. You're taking off all the growth that occurred. So anyways, you might see also a little barrel pond there, sneak peek. This is 30 to 40 days later, and wow, I can't even see the trunks. The amount of growth that has occurred on this mulberry tree is quite insane. I have no doubt that it will flower in the later half of the spring. It is late April, so I'm very curious to see if it's going to flower or not. Usually it's an early flowering tree with fruit by late spring, early summer. So we'll see. But that's just a crazy amount of growth. And then if we come over here, I did not show you how much I pruned back the lemon tree, but you can get an idea that about 12 feet, 10 to 12 feet is what I heavily trimmed. I leave the top half wild, and there's definitely already some fruit up there. But down here, I just left some strategically placed branches to allow them to flower this spring and produce some fruit on the lower half to allow me to harvest them, and letting most of it just go wild. Because we're not going to go through 100 lemons. Just need a couple dozen. And this is the second major project that I'm working on this winter, and that is collecting all of the native saplings that I want to transplant around the yard and put in a more beneficial area. Now, I'm finding most of these saplings along the fence line, probably because that's where they have the most shelter and the best chance of surviving. And specifically, there's 3 species of plants that I'm looking at transplanting. And the first and most impactful one is the holly tree. And the holly tree is evergreen. It provides flowers and berries, and it's so important to have more evergreens for my yard because I have so few to begin with, and they make great shelter trees for my existing fruit trees and bananas, as well as attracting even more birds. The other 2 tree species that I'm focusing on transplanting is the American beech and quercus, or oak. And I'm focusing on these 2 because they are more long-term species. They provide good shade. They are deciduous, but they're going to attract a whole lot of birds and even more species of caterpillars and wasps that's just going to benefit the garden and the land for years to come. Because I was not able to dig up these plants by the root, I had to chop them. It's good to get a blade, make a clean cut into the bark. Because it will root much quicker. You just want to pinch off the bottom leaves. Don't need them. Just want a few up top. You want the plant to send all of its energy to grow down here, not all of its energy up here. But this is a fruit tree that has died. I think it's a great place since the sun rises just above the mulberry. It gets sun all day, tiny break, 30 minutes here, and then more sun until 5 to 6 p.m. It's too much. It's too much for this water, and I think too much for the tree. So let's give something that will take advantage of it, which is an oak. So I typically identify trees just by the leaf. In winter, it's a little harder. Many trees are deciduous. But it's really easy to tell if a tree is native or not, and you just have to look closely. And I'll show you what I mean. So you see there's these little growths, these little brown balls or cankers that form on the branches of the leaves. Here's another cluster of them. Don't know if you can see them by my thumb. And that is actually just a response from the tree, from the different insects that actually bore inside of the plant, inside of the stem, and eat away. Now there's other kinds of predation, like here, just look at this one leaf. See all the little holes in it? So some insect is taking bites out of this. But it's not just insects taking bites out. You can actually look at this next leaf. You see these brown patches? Now, yeah, some of that could be from the sun, a little too intense or a little too wet for a couple days. But I see little baby holes too, where the brown parts are. So that's a different kind of insect, probably a wasp, that actually lives within this tiny little thing, eats the leaf, and then pops out of the leaf. So the only way you're going to get relationships like that is if these plants and insects have been evolving together, for thousands of years. Or if I show you a non-native tree or an invasive tree, they will have no insect pressure. Look how crazy this is by the base. So here's the stem, and it actually just fused itself to this rotting piece of wood. Didn't grow out of it, but it did fuse it. It's kind of weird. But I will plant it all as one piece. Really makes sense to do maybe one holly on the west side and then one holly on the east side. And that way, the palm tree's just behind me and the lemon tree's just over there. So just barely out of view. There's the lemon. There's the palm. So these are not only going to protect the bananas and actually give them a chance to fruit, but they're protecting our other trees as well. So just to recap where I actually did all the transplants. Oak behind the water barrel and dead tree. A holly tree on the other side of that small fruit tree. And then we did 2 more hollies. One here on the left side, one there on the right side. So what is that? That is 3 hollies along the line, along the fence line, and then 1 oak in the back corner. Now over here, these first 2 beds I'm keeping free because there's a bunch of small growing, low growing perennials. For now it'll stay that way. Over here's more interesting. I put an oak and then another holly. So an oak tree here and another holly. And come in over here to the second banana patch. Another holly. So just to recap the front yard, I have a fragile tree here that dies, it's subtropical. So I'm gonna put a holly back there to protect it. Over here, a bit less sun, but I will still put an American beech there. Should attract some more birds. And just to recap, over in this front garden bed, I've already put 1 holly. And over in the driveway bed, put another holly, just for a little more evergreen out here in the front. That bed is gonna get some more love this spring. Just letting it do its thing right now. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like, a dislike, a comment. And with that being said, my dog and I wish you good vibes.